How much more extreme can roller coasters become before even the hardened riders start chickening out? This is the question amusement parks gamble their millions on. How far over the top will coaster fanatics go? Before we look skyward to the future SuperCoaster, we have to look deeper into the coaster junkie's brain. The potential for the next generation of SuperCoasters is truly scary. Imagine 1,000-foot drops and enough gravity power to twist and fly to our heart's content. The fact is, we already have the technology. It's all possible. But from the rider's perspective, it's absolute madness. Or is it? The real question of what's next isn't about engineers. It's about us. To find some clues to what makes the brains of roller coaster riders tick, a team of neuroscientists and engineers get together in Edmonton, Canada. For the first time ever, they will attempt to record and compare the brainwaves of two groups of riders, coaster fanatics and coaster phobics, as they take a spin on the Mindbender, an indoor coaster with some of the biggest G-forces on the planet. The question is, how much mind-bending does the Mindbender do? The scientists will attempt to isolate the difference in brain stimulation between the two groups. They hope the data will shed new light on the mystery of the coaster fanatic's mind. How much more thrills can they take? Engineer Graham Holt wires up each rider to take EEG readings using a new tool, a portable sensor net. This web of electrodes records the electrical impulses by which our brain cells communicate. Holt is hoping the EEG will track the ups and downs of each rider's emotional reaction, like a Richter scale measures the intensity of an earthquake. The EEG equipment is also being put to the test. The bumps in the ride might jostle the electrodes and obscure the data.
We have to worry about motion artifacts, vibrations from the track, the subject's head moving from side to side, large sweeping movements, G-forces, those kind of things. Never done this before on a roller coaster, so we're going to find out how it works.
For additional clues, neuroscientist Dr. Kathy Hegadoren will measure each rider's heart rate before and after the ride to see if they're having an adrenaline response. The first rider is Bradley Waranook, a coaster fanatic.
I'm a competitive wakeboarder, snowboarder. I've done bungee jumping. Roller coasters are a little bit different just because you're not in control. It's a little bit more thrilling just kind of being at the mercy of the person who created the ride, all the physicists out there, and just kind of hoping that they did their homework. Here we go, baby!
Mindbender's first drop slams you into the double loops with so much force, some riders experience gray out.
That was amazing. I'm just tingling all over and just caught in kind of a state of disbelief, like just tingling and scared and like excited at the same time. Just an absolute rush.
Bradley may feel all pumped up after the ride, but surprisingly, his heart rate hardly budges. For the other thrill seekers, the results are similar.
You don't see an increase in heart rate, even though they describe excitement, they describe sort of arousal, stimulation. So perhaps it's more related to the reward system in the brain as opposed to the adrenaline system.
The euphoric rush the coaster fanatics are feeling must be coming from somewhere in the pleasure circuits of the brain. The most likely culprit is the neurochemical dopamine being released in their synapses. The EEG equipment is intact. Holt searches the data for clues. But sifting out the brainwaves from the bumps in the ride are like reading hieroglyphics. Brad's brainwave levels look fairly constant. His fear and adrenaline response appear non-existent. But during the ride, he's still getting his chemical fix.
What you gradually do is you sculpt away the anticipatory stress, the recovery, all the psychological stuff, so that you get back into this realm where you're just turning it on during that event. And just the right amount of activation of the stress system causes you to pour dopamine out of that part of the brain, and that's the euphoria.
Next up is the first of the coaster phobics, Shannon McMillan. Just the anticipation of her first ride on Mindbender is making her heart rate skyrocket.
I'm very nervous. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. I'm just really afraid of heights.
As she enters the first drop, fear response system is going through the roof. Her expression is frozen. She's too scared to scream.
You're turning on a massive stress response, massive in terms of the hormones, heart rate, blood pressure, all that sort of thing. Parts of your brain are sitting there saying, oh my God, I'm going to die. And initially what we have is sort of the neurochemical equivalent of just wetting your pants.
For the coaster phobics, the fight to control their deep-rooted flight or fight response system is a losing battle. Shannon can't get off the ride fast enough.
It's just not my thing. The height's too much.
This is the lift hill part. Going to the top, going down that first drop, there's additional activity here. There may be underlying EEG that we may be able to get off of that, which would be interesting to take a look at.
Initial EEG analysis reveals that the coaster phobics are showing far more brainwave activity than the coaster fanatics in the brain's cortex, the outer layer of the brain. Most likely, their higher, more intellectual brain is getting overwhelmed by the fear impulses coming from their deeper, more instinctual lower brain. Fear is dominating their mind. For the coaster phobics, it's sensory overload. The fear can't be overcome. The coaster fanatics, on the other hand, appear to be almost fearless. Even on an extreme ride like Mindbender, thrill seekers like Bradley have plenty of room left in the tank. In the future, they will need increasingly bigger thrills to fire them up.